re-enlist because I wouldn't have passed the hearing test. And I'm such an idiot. I never told anybody.
I was going to say, you could have been.
I could have gotten something. I never said a word.
Yeah.
You know, I was,
oh, no.
you know, because it was my own stupidity. I'd lift up my headset to hear my students. You know, we were on loud aircrafts,
Yep.
Cargo aircrafts. You know, those things are loud. The C-141s and the 130s, those things are loud. And
oh,
I
yeah.
had to lift up my.
Okay, here we go. Hauntings, cryptids, the unknown. Welcome to Mystic Moon Café Radio. All right, and then here we are. Wait a minute. Okay, there we are.
Little intro.
Decided to play some more.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I think we're live on Facebook now, with any luck. And there's a message, but I'll look at that in a few minutes. This evening, I have Sonia Jorgensen. Is it Jorgensen or Jorgensen?
Jorgensen, yeah.
Okay, Jorgensen. As co-host tonight, and we are speaking with Miss Aida. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I never mean to butcher people's names, but being a Schindler, I'm kind of used to it myself. So it rolls off.
I was wondering how to pronounce that, when I was like, wow, that's a tough one.
Schindler's List made it easier for a little while.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I never thought of that.
And anyway, well, Sonia, would you like to introduce Miss Aida? And
absolutely.
No,
you're totally fine. Let me get to my notes. Don't mind me really quick. It's Aida, correct? Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Miss Aida is hold on one second. I'm getting my notes.
Sure.
I had my notes and they're gone. So Miss Aida is a Hoodoo practitioner. She also practices witchcraft and uses her psychic and healing gifts to help others. And from my research, I found that she has 3 books, if I'm correct, out for purchase right now, dealing in spellcraft, and primarily really wants to make sure that people who need help and protection, if you want to rid yourself of negative energies, negative people, negative entities, she would be the lady to talk to. She has some excellent content on how to do that and how to essentially improve your life, your way, and your journey by ridding that negativity from your life. And she does not mess around. This is not kids stuff. This is instant, get it done kind of thing. So if you want soft, squishy, this is not the show, from what I can tell. But if you want real stuff, real life, then this is the place to be. How'd I do?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I tried to find my notes. I was like, oh crap. Yeah. Sorry about that.
We were talking because Sonia, you're a registered nurse and
Correct.
You're a military veteran. I mean, it's like you're my soul sister here.
Yeah, we have so much in common. Yes, Miss Aida also military.
And you practice, spiritualism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like really cool. And what I think is pretty cool too is a lot of people think that we're atheists. A lot of people think that you're in the medical field, you're an atheist,
Right.
and it's absolutely the opposite, because we see a lot of spiritual stuff. We see spirits, we see all kinds of stuff,
Right.
and you're going to find more spirituality amongst the nurses and doctors,
Correct.
rather than the general public.
Absolutely agree and believe that. I think, as sure you've seen and I've seen, you have to have a strong foundation in your belief in the afterlife and spirituality to be able to do the work that we do and be a part of so many transitions that people go through coming into the world and leaving it. So yeah, we have so much in common, the nursing and the military background and all of that. So it's great. It's great to meet you.
Have you ever seen any weird things? Like, I've seen some weird things. I had one time I had a patient, and every time he'd come into the ER, I was the only one that knew the treatment because it was so rare. He had some sort of yeast in his lungs, and he'd come in acute respiratory distress, right? And the doctors would just say, Aida, go for it, and in the ER, we do everything and we write it down, and then the doctors come along, sign it as if it's an order, right?
Yeah.
Hours after the fact, and then they collect the money for what we did,
Correct.
But when I went into administration, they called a code in the ER, and I have to share the story because I never believed in near-death experiences. I thought it was all baloney. I thought what was going on were chemical things that were happening where people were imagining the same thing. So I wasn't a part of that code because I was in administration, but whenever something would happen in the ER, it's in the blood. I'd have to go down and be nosy and see what's going on. And was like, oh my God, it's him, And I decided to take notes. And, people wonder when they, I don't watch the ER programs, but, the reason they yell in the ER is not because of drama, but because someone is standing in the background taking notes. The doctor ordered this, the nurse did this, so-and-so. So anyway, I'm standing way in the back. It's a huge trauma room, right? And, I've got regular clothes on because I'm in administration, big hot shot, right? And I'm talking to this intern and I'm whispering to him. And I'm saying to him, I really love this guy. I've known him for years, and, I always treated him, and he's such a great guy. I'm telling him all this stuff, right? He's laying down flat, on the cart because he's, clinically dead. They're doing CPR and they're doing an ACLS on him. And if he was sitting up, if he was awake and alert and sitting up, he wouldn't have seen me, let alone heard me, because I was way in the corner, they're yelling, whatever, and I'm writing this stuff down. So anyway, they resuscitated him, and he goes to ICU, and I'm going into ICU, because you get attached to some patients, right? And I'm checking in on him. When he finally came around, it was like 2 or 3 days later, I don't remember when, he told me what I was wearing and everything I said. And
I hear that a lot.
He was awake and alert and sitting up. It never would have happened. He was hovering right over me. So I mean, that instance was the minute I believed in near-death experiences.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, so many of us that are nurses, I think many, empaths and healers and people that work in the psychic fields are nurses or in some sort of, field where you're helping others, counselors and therapists and things as well too. And we experience these things, in some form, either at work or outside of work, that brings us to this type of work. And I hear that theme all the time, that people that are having near-death experiences, their soul, it's kind of like that, astral travel in a way where your soul sort of separates from the body, and they kind of hover and they can see the whole room. I had an experience kind of similar to that, but not actually when I was working as a nurse, oddly enough. But prior to becoming a nurse, I had a similar experience. But yeah, it's really fascinating. I agree. That's awesome story.
I love.
Oh, you want the story? Okay. So this was a pivotal moment for me in knowing about my gifts. I was in high school and I was getting on a school bus, and that morning I got up and I was like, God, I'm not feeling it today. Something's wrong. Something's off. Something's going to happen. It's that dread, right? That feeling of dread that something's coming, that train's coming. So I did the typical teenager routine. I don't want to go to school today. I don't feel good. And, you know, my parents, doing the typical parent routine, said, are you sick? You don't have a fever? Get on the bus. Right? Like, not buying it. Is it test day? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, even if you're dead, walk it off.
Yeah, walk it off. Get your ass on the bus, right? So I get down to the bus stop. My friend's there, and I just kind of casually mention, like, something doesn't feel right. I don't feel good about this. We get on the bus. As I get closer to the school, like I have this feeling like I'm nearing that moment in the timeline, and the anxiety gets bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point that my discomfort, I've expressed my discomfort to someone sitting next to me on the bus. And then almost to the school, I'm looking at the door at the back of the bus, like I'm going to jump off the bus, like my panic, like this is coming, this thing is coming. And I was like ready to like just take off. Like I didn't want to be there at all. And then all of a sudden my bus driver just slams on the brakes. And the bubble, that tension bubble, that anxiety just popped. And she leans out her window and she's screaming at the bus driver coming towards us. And she's like, back up. You're on her. Your wheels are on her.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Sorry. I know this is going a little dark all of a sudden for y'all, but
it's all right.
She hit a girl in the crosswalk and that girl died.
Oh my God.
So I had my own out-of-body experience in that moment. My soul like went to hers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was with her. I'd never met the girl in my life. Never.
Chills.
I mean, we went to the same school, but I never met her. I was with her almost like kind of like a creepy peeping Tom spectator. Now I look back like that was a little weird and intrusive of me, but at the time not aware of, you know, what I was really experiencing at the moment. But I was with her and I followed her through the entire process of her being met by her spirit guide to take her home. Her not being ready to leave. She was a little confused by what was happening because it was very sudden. She traveled with her body. I know, I'm there for the whole thing. She travels with her body to the hospital. She's there when her mother and her sister arrive at the hospital. She's observing the whole scene from above. Same thing. She's sort of watching she's watching them work on her body, watch them do CPR, watch them call it, sees her family. She can't reach them. She's heartbroken. She can't tell them that she's there. And her spirit guides with time, just this calm, understanding, supportive. And then me, leering, like, sorry, I'm just hanging out, but just watch this whole thing unfold. And it gave me such a window into the soul and the afterlife and the transition to death. And moving to the next, through the veil. It was just profound experience for me to go through that with her. And I knew things that I suddenly knew her intimately. And I know those of you that connect with spirits, there's this intimacy in that connection with our mask of our physical body being removed. You have that intimacy of knowing. And so I just knew her and I knew all about her life and I'd never met her. And I knew that like her dad was there, but not there. And I couldn't reconcile that, like with my rational brain, like why is her dad there, but not there? And so traumatic, right? As a teenager.
Why was
Right. Cause I've had profound, like psychic snaps like that in the past as a child with I grew up in a Protestant household. Like I've got no frame of reference. Right? That's the devil. So I'm like, I have nothing to go with. So I kind of put out this plea. If I'm going to be involved in this, at least show me her face, right? I want to know who she is. And so that night I was, normal dream state. And then this face was like right in my face, like, whoa. And
hello.
Okay. So I go to her funeral because now I'm engaged. Right. Now I got to see this through.
Right.
I go to her funeral. Her picture's there. It's that girl. It's her, the girl that I saw in my dream. That validated number one. Number two validation, her dad was at her funeral. He was in active duty military serving overseas, which is why he was not there, but there.
Okay.
So I started getting these real life validations. Yeah. So sorry, I know this interview is so not about me, but I just thought, it's just a crazy story, but
this is
totally like,
talk.
But yeah, but like, you know, like you reflect on you get these experiences working in this field of, you know, seeing through the veil and then trying to search for validation on the other side of the veil to kind of be like, am I losing my mind? Am I crazy? You know,
yeah.
Should I be medicated or like?
Well, let me ask you something. Did you see her at the funeral, or was she already crossed over?
She had already crossed over. Yeah. When she crossed, our link broke right in that moment. Like I was sucked back into my body. Yeah, I just like, I was suddenly back in my body and back in the present day. And I was like, what the was that? You know, like, I need to be medicated or committed, or I don't know what just happened, but yeah, craziness.
Wow. Did you ever tell anybody? I mean, I know you told somebody, you're telling us.
Well, it's funny because, you know, I did what every child does. I called my mom, you know, like freaking out.
Yeah.
My mother, you know, rest her heart, she's Protestant. So it was a difficult conversation to have with her. And she just said, just make sure that your gifts are not of the devil, right? Like, make sure I'm not possessed. It's not demonic. I had to, you know, she was very concerned for my soul. So, you know, with some respect to her belief systems, it was kind of this like, all right, well, I'll check, but I think I'm okay there. And, you know, so that was tough. And then it took many, many, many years for me to talk about it to anybody else, because I had a pivotal moment on the bus where a girl looked at me when I was right after it happened, because people could tell I was upset on the bus, that something was wrong, and I was upset, and I needed to get off the bus. A girl looked at me and she said, you did this. You caused this.
Oh.
And as someone I had no background, I had no mentorship, I had no understanding of the metaphysical world at all at that age.
Right.
To have that said to me, there's a piece of me that went, did I? You know, and for young, you know, people coming into their empathic abilities, coming into their awakening, coming into you know, they have moments like that where they're like, am I crazy? Did I do this? Or am I just experiencing it? You know, like, so, you know, it really speaks to that. As a young kid, I'm like, oh shit, maybe I did, you know? And so this was a profound moment. It was a profound experience for me in my psychic development. It really was. I mean, I had other experiences too, that just, my mom looked at me out of the corner of her eye a lot. Like, watching you. Not only are you left-handed, okay, I was left-handed. I came out of the womb effed up. I'm left-handed. And then now I'm having these experiences, right? So yeah, you know, crazy stuff.
Sonia, do you have
the phone would ring.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older sister.
Does she have the gift also, or just you?
You know, no, I think she picks up vibes, but she hasn't explored it, and she's not at the same level of sensitivity as I am. You know, my mom has since passed on, and mom communicates to me because my sister won't listen, if that makes sense. Like, she could connect, but she just doesn't pursue it. You know, mom comes to me, she's like, and she would do this when she was alive. Like, if my sister didn't answer her phone, she'd call me and say, tell your sister I'm trying to reach her, right? So she's still doing it. You know, like, tell your sister to pick up the phone. I'm like, I'm trying. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
You know, we all have those experiences that we don't tell anybody, you know, and I had one that, and I was older. I mean, and I just didn't tell anybody. And what happened, I was living in an apartment building, and I was living across the street from a cemetery, and it never really bothered me. And my husband, he went on some sort of a trip. I don't know where he went, but I love men that travel because they're not home. My first husband was a pilot. It's like, yeah,
under your feet.
Never home. My second husband traveled like forever. It's like, yeah.
My husband's not watching this, is he? Okay, good.
So anyway, he goes away, and so anyway, I'm waking up. You know how you're in that semi waking up stage, you know, and I'm like, wow, you know, I just had this dream that this big bald man was sleeping with me, you know, not having sex. He wasn't an incubus. Okay.
Right.
And So anyway, I open my eyes and here's this silhouette of this man laying next to me with his arm on me. And I'm like, holy crap, And, I talk about this in my book, the fight or flight mechanism, right? And I get up and I start running and this thing is running after me. And I'm running away. I run into another room and he knocked off a picture that I had from Cuba, that my mother brought over from Cuba in the same frame and glass, right? It goes flying across, not all the way across. It goes flying across about 4 feet and then crashed on the floor. And I'm running and I'm running. And I always keep holy water in the refrigerator. And then finally I'm like, there's no end to this. He's going to get me. And I thought, I stopped in front of the refrigerator. I went, wait a minute. I was like a cartoon character, right?
Yeah. The light bulb above. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a witch. What the hell am I doing, right? So I open the refrigerator door. I grab my holy water, and and it's in my book. I like the holy water from Lourdes, France, right? And I'm spraying him, and I'm like, get out of my house. And I'm spraying him, and I open the door, right? And I'm spraying, and I slam the door. And then right away, I'm spraying, when I do implement the pentagram and the pentacle.
Yep, I do that. Yeah, over the door. Yeah.
Cross, and I've got all this stuff, and then I go back and I'm doing it to the windows. Then I get the holy water. I'm doing that. Then I do the salt, right? And then I didn't tell anybody. It was like, okay, was this a crazy moment? Did I have a crazy moment? So I didn't tell anybody, right? Well, I was having back problems, and I went to the physician, and the physician sent me to a physical therapist. And she looked like she could be either my younger sister or my daughter. I mean, she looked like me, and her name was Maria. Now, I lived in an all-white neighborhood. I thought I was the token spick, but evidently she was, Maria was there too, right? And she's a physical therapist, and you know how you really don't have a conversation with strangers, like, yeah, it hurts here and there, and then they're doing something according to the doctor's orders. I don't know what the hell, So she's doing her little thing on me, and she felt compelled to tell me she lived in the same apartment building, okay? And her husband was an intern. So anyway, she tells me every time her husband was on midnights, this thing would sleep with her. It was the exact same guy.
No way.
Uh-oh.
I got to drink some Coca-Cola.
Absolutely. Hey,
so this guy lived in the apartment complex then, that entity.
Well, what I think happened, so anyway, I told her what to do, and she did it, and she was never bothered by him again. But what I don't think he was an incubus. I think he was looking for his romantic partner. And because we looked alike, because he never had sex with us, nothing like that, I think he mistaken me and her for that woman.
Oh, okay.
Whomever he was looking for. But then I talked about it freely because it wasn't just me. I mean, it was happening to somebody else,
Validation will inspire that.
Yeah.
That's my don't tell anybody moment, because I mean, my husband's seen some weird crap. It's like, oh my God, you're a witch, It's like, but my husband never said it in a nice way. Like, you're a witch. No, you're. The only time I was a nice witch is if I was making money bags for him or doing, but then when the weird stuff you're a witch.
Right. When it works to their advantage, right? It's a little different.
That happens with a lot of people, they come to us for help and all that. And, some people are so ungrateful that, once they get what they want, they just dump us like hot potatoes because they don't want to be associated with a witch, but we were good enough for them when they needed something,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I was I was answering a deal in chat.
Ah.
Okay. Well, I don't have any profound stories like that, really. So, sorry. I'm a little more boring and low key. Yeah.
Stories, nothing.
Grandma used to give me the side eye a lot too when I would tell her what she was thinking, basically, and just
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. And
Yeah.
mhm. Other
Wow.
grandma was a
Give us
nurse, and
a story. Give us a story. Give us a story.
I
Good
don't
story.
hardly remember. It was a good childhood. I don't have the memories anymore.
But you still know what people are thinking?
Sometimes, yes, and I can, but it's more like
From you.
I'll just be speaking and it's exactly what they're thinking or they have done and they're trying not to tell me. And there were some little some younger boys that used to come to the house all the time to play with my dogs. Basically, I was the German Shepherd mom,
Yeah.
and yeah, and they would come by and Kim Patrick play and this kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And they I asked them where one of their compatriots was one time, and we don't know. And I said, wait a minute, you were down the block, you started something on fire, or he did. You ran away and left him holding the bag, and their eyes got about that big around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, let me
And they
ask
were looking for you to be the alibi.
Uh-huh.
do you actually visualize this, or does someone tell you, or how does that work? with you?
It comes out. It just comes out as I'm speaking most
Wow.
of the time. Hmm.
That's awesome.
And then, like, say your sense of dread before the accident with the bus, I got that way on a lot of job sites that I've been on. I'd know when the layoff was coming because I would have that sense of dread beforehand. And
Oh,
being the one of the very few females in the pipe fitters union and on the job sites, I was usually one of the first ones to be given the layoff check. But hey,
Yeah. It's almost
whatever.
like
But
we sense the energy shift at the decision
mhm,
that's being made at the astral level before it comes down. Because I've
yep,
noticed that with a lot of things that I'll be listen just
you're cutting out just a little bit.
yeah,
Okay.
you kind of
okay.
feel the energy shift and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden then it's actualized, if that makes
Yes.
sense. But it's
Yes.
almost like you catch it before it happens, in the
Hmm.
shift of the energy
Hmm.
before it's manifested or whatever. Yeah.
Is it a possibility that the person that's going to deliver the bad news is feeling horrible about having to do it, and then you're feeling that? I mean, is that a possibility too?
Some of them,
Yeah,
maybe.
I had like administrators, from other shifts, and they'd hand me something and go fire that person. It's like, you lazy, go fire him yourself, but
Right.
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
someone gave me something to fire one of my nurse's aides, and I was like, I'm not doing it. But then I saw the write-up, and I was like,
Hmm.
wow. So I called her in my office, and she's such a good person, right? And I'm
Hmm.
crying. I mean, I was a bitch, right?
Which
But
with a B.
when it's like with her, I cared about my good employees, right? I bring her to my
Hmm.
office and I can't stop crying, right?
Hmm.
And she's holding me and consoling me, and she's the one that's being fired. It was ridiculous.
Oh,
It'll
I
be
love it.
okay. So I'm wondering, because then I had that dread. I had that
Right.
dread before she came into the office.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just
You're
wondering if
picking
that's
up on that.
another possibility.
Yeah.
I would say some of them, yes. Others, maybe it was glee. I don't know.
Um,
I don't kid myself about some of the feelings they harbored.
oh.
it is what it is. I've been retired from it for 10 years, so
Oh,
it's
good.
all good.
Goodbye and good riddance, eh?
Exactly. I couldn't take the stress anymore.
Yeah. Wow. What a shame.
Well, man, you know, if you'd had some of the banishing spells and
Oh,
maybe
they looked at me pretty wild a few times anyway, but yeah.
Well, if Aida had had, you know, her books out back then, you could have taken care of some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Could have turned the tables a little bit.
It's like, bye-bye, bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I could have taken a doll in and stuck it. Oh, yeah, pop it in and stuck it. And all of them would have sworn that I had gotten them, you know, in person.
Oh, Lord.
I know.
In the Santeria tradition,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't have that in any of my books. Oh, I have it in an upcoming book. So in the Santeria tradition, they get this powder called pica pica, which, you know, pica is itching, you know, they call it pica pica, you know, and what they do is they blow it right at the person. And I'll tell you, they vanish. They
I'll bet.
like, I don't know, it's because they got itching powder on them. I don't know. It hurts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do
The other
it.
thing you can do too is you got to use fresh urine. You got to, because I'll tell you, I know this from experience. I'll tell clients, send me your urine, right? They're sending it. You got to send it, you know, overnight delivery. You know, one client, I didn't tell her to send it overnight delivery. It's like, you know, send me fresh.
Oh, no.
You know, urine is for domination. You know, just like dogs urinate. You know, you'll see the boy dogs, they'll lift their leg really, really high because they want to be higher than the last dog that urinated, you know. And the girls, you know, they have to squat, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's, you know, in nature we do that. And, you know, it's a gesture of domination. So, you know, I tell people, well, I want to go back to use fresh urine because she sent me the fresh urine. It was my fault. I didn't tell her, right? You know.
Right.
Oh my God! I was gonna die. It's like, okay. Anyway, use your fresh urine, you know, and put it in a spray bottle and spray their workspace. It'll assert your dominance over them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's a hoodoo trick. They don't put it in spray bottles. You know, you'll read about they'll put it in buckets and just
toss it.
Spray bottle. You know.
They'll pee on my lunchbox, you know, whatever. There are stories all over. I don't think that happened to me, but.
You can even do it right in front of them, spray your urine. They don't know what
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. Eat lots of asparagus.
Yeah.
Lots of asparagus the night before. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, that would be warfare. Yeah. We had a lot of warfare anyway.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, don't do it if you have a urinary tract infection.
No.
Right.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile,
We are
we are.
bad. We're bad, man.
No, we're not. Nah, we're really not.
No,
It's allowed.
in a good way. We bad.
Yeah.
Badass. That's it.
Right. There you go.
Okay.
All righty. Well, in the book, Hoodoo Cleansing and Protection Magic, you talk about you grew up in a house with the Hoodoo Santeria, Palo, and Brujeria. And I was just
Brujeria and Palo, but not Hoodoo.
Oh, okay. That came later, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. But I was wondering if you'd like tell us what each of those is and give us like an example or, you know, something you may have worked with it in it, if you want to, of course. Just for our audience that doesn't know, you know, a lot about it. I've read a lot about it, but yeah.
You know, it's Santeria and Palo, they derive from Africa. Okay, so when, well, let me I know you didn't ask me this question, but hoodoo
Go
also
for it.
derives from Africa too. So
Hmm.
anyway, those are religions, and they kind of assimilated with whatever cultures, they're living with, and um, Brujeria is witchcraft. That's all it is. And the a lot of people associate Brujeria with Mexico. And
Hmm.
the brujas in Mexico, they're very, very powerful, and I have a lot of respect for them. But Brujeria exists in all countries because it's witchcraft.
Right.
It just
Hmm.
happens to be
The
called
localized.
Brujeria,
Yes.
So I mean,
Hmm.
I think that's kind of like people say, oh, Brujeria, well, you're not Mexican. Well, yeah, but my family practiced witchcraft,
Right. Hmm.
So that's witchcraft, and in Santeria and Palo, well, the witchcraft derives from the different traditions, and
Hmm.
as it does in every country. So what did you have in Cuba back then? You had um, African slaves,
Hmm.
and when the Spaniards came, Cuba was Indian. So I think there were two tribes. There were Albicinu and Siboney. And they committed almost complete genocide, right? There's still
Right.
some Cuban songs, there's one about the Siboney, and it goes, Siboney, yo te quiero, yo me muero por tu amor. So, Siboney is the person who is a Siboney Indian, I
Okay.
love you and I would die for your love. So we know by that song that there's still some Siboney Indians there, if there's
Nice.
about it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I never heard of any Albicinu Indians, so I think those were completely annihilated. So we're getting practices from the Spaniards, from the Africans, and from the Indians, right? Just like any part of the world, wherever they're
Hmm.
practicing magic, right? So
Aztec and Mayan as well, probably influences.
not in Cuba, but I'm
Not in
sure in
Oh, okay.
Mexico,
Okay.
and I'm sure in Mexico. I can't speak for what they practice in Mexico because I'm not Mexican,
Okay.
but
Hmm. Hmm.
you know. So going back to the tradition. So, and I do want to talk about hoodoo because I want to put that into this category.
Hmm.
And you know, hoodoo is an African derivative tradition. It's not a religion, right? And you'll see others like voodoo and Santeria, and those are religions,
Hmm.
okay?
Hmm.
And I like the similarities. They're African traditional religions, they're called. So what I like about them is there's in Palo and not in Brujeria, in Palo, in Santeria, and in Hoodoo, there's a lot of similarities because the the derivative is Africa, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so there's a lot of similarities in the practices. And with Santeria, they would hide their religion, their true beliefs, with the Catholic religion. So,
Hmm.
when you have the Orishas, their deities are, and I know they're also called deities. I call it deities, so anyway, doesn't matter. So they're, it can be equivalent to gods and goddesses or saints. And,
Hmm.
so, the Virgen Caridad de Cobre, she looks like Oshun, the I call them saints. I can't help it because that's what my family called them. They call them the Richas. They never called them Orishas. They always called them Santos. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
you know, this one looks like that one, and that one looks like this one. So they would hide their religion and incorporate it into the Catholic beliefs, right? And
Hmm.
I was telling somebody the other day. I says it's kind of funny because in Hoodoo, they're basically Protestants. I think they're Baptists mostly, or Protestants. And they would go to church and be all holy and everything. Then, once they're out of the church, they're practicing hoodoo, right? But,
Mhm.
the same thing with the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans and whatever, they're in church, they're being really, really Catholic and, so holy. And then they're out and they're practicing Santeria. So I have to crack up when some of my clients call me and they say, oh, so-and-so is Nigerian, but they don't practice any of that. They're Catholic. And it's like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, growing up, practicing all this stuff, and then I got worn out because I just couldn't. Animal sacrifices were just getting harder and harder and harder on me. They were just,
Sure.
I couldn't do it. And the very last time I had this chicken, and it was, from my pot, in Palo, and I was about to sacrifice this chicken, and I'll never forget the way my dog looked at me. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. It was like she was going like this and almost like shame on you. And I let
Mhm.
the chicken live. And I stopped practicing. I apologize to everybody. It's just I can't do this anymore. And I can't have someone else do it. I just
Mhm.
can't do it. I can't see this. And then I found hoodoo, and it's like, wow, we're not doing all these animal sacrifices. And yet, I fell into this like a fish into water because there were so many similarities, between, what I grew up with and
Mhm.
what this practice is. So I forgot the question.
Um.
You did great. It was
Yeah.
basically just an overview of the different practices that you're
Oh,
Right.
involved in. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you did great.
And we have another Cuban in the house, Medea Aguiar, out of you probably know her, or you may have heard of her, Sonia.
Yes.
no.
So
Yeah.
Medea.
Yep.
Okay,
But yeah,
is there a chat room? Because I don't see any chat room. You
it's
know.
it's on the Mystic Moon Cafe Facebook page.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, and we're live on it, so
yeah. You know how much trouble I had just doing this.
I know that, yes. So I'm monitoring that as well. So, and you can go back and look later. This records and it'll play back. They're on Facebook, and I'll put it on our YouTube channel as well when we're done.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But okie dokie. Let's see. You talk a lot about light and dark, negative and positive. How important is it, in your opinion, to keep a healthy balance of the two going?
A healthy balance.
Yeah.
Deflect all negativity is how I like,
Well,
the healthy
I guess
balance.
I was thinking actually more of your light and dark sides as opposed to negativity being thrown at you or brought back to you, or you putting it out there.
I don't understand the question, but let me try to answer it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
so I think that in the world we have an equal balance of positive and negative people, positive and negative events, positive and negative locations, positive and negative entities, positive and negative energies. That is my firm belief. It's an equal balance.
Mhm.
I guess they call it yin and yang. Do they call that yin and yang? So
Yeah.
anyway, maybe it isn't, but I think we have an equal balance. And excuse me, we have an aura.
Mhm.
And the aura is the spiritual shield that protects us against the negative energies that are around. They also protect us against negative people, right?
Mhm.
And when our auras so they're a shield, and Marla Brooks, I loved what she called the aura. She called it a health barometer and a mood barometer. I really like that because
Okay.
it will suppress if you're unhealthy. It will suppress if you're emotionally incapacitated, right? It will suppress. And when the aura does suppress, there are times that, I've said this, probably people are tired of me saying it, but when we feel like we have a dark cloud on us, when we're having a bad event and then another bad event, and then I was like, oh, I'm feeling this dark cloud. Well, what you're feeling is actually the negativity that's already out there, right? And because the aura is suppressed, it's not protecting you against that. So what you're feeling is something that is normally there. And so that's why we need to keep the aura shiny and healthy. And, as Sonia well knows, that, there's it's interrelated with a feedback tube, feedback system. Okay. We have the physiological status, the emotional status, and the spiritual status. So when we're physically ill, right, it affects our emotional status, and that in turn affects our spiritual status, because we're not feeling well, we're ill, and the aura becomes more suppressed. When we're emotionally ill, that takes a toll on our physiological status. And then once again, the spiritual. Or if we're spiritually ill, that takes an effect on our emotional and physiological. So what are like some spiritual illnesses could include being the victim, if you will, of an entity's presence, or the presence of a cursed object or a possessed object. So then you're being affected spiritually. So they're all interrelated. And
did you see that?
Yeah, it popped up.
Okay, cool. Yay!
Yay, it worked.
It worked.
Will Candle, I didn't see the rest of what, you can read it to me. Well,
yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. So along that same vein then, for me in shamanic work, there's some parallels there. And a lot of times, people are experiencing an imbalance in one area or another. And what I find is they don't always associate it. So they may be having gut issue or a physical issue, but it's really an emotional or a spiritual issue, or there's been some sort of spiritual tear or break, or a piece of them has broken off because of a traumatic event. And now because of that absence, now there's an imbalance and a hole that's being filled by something not healthy. And it also allows for entities, for darker, lower vibrational energies to attach when we create these holes. And a lot of times so I guess your feedback or advice for people, a lot of times when I encounter things like that, people don't always want to own their own stuff. They want to say, like the black cloud, oh, something is coming at me, or I'm experiencing something from the outside, but they rarely want to say, I'm bringing it on myself by my choices, my actions, my diet, my, I don't know, whatever. But, the choices that I'm making for me in my life, the imbalance in my stress or my sleep cycle has created an environment that has allowed this imbalance. They don't always want to own their part. They want to come to people like us and healers and say, fix it for me. Give me the magic pill. Make it, go away. But they don't want to do their homework and own their own stuff, so I don't, what's kind of your perspective on that with regard to?
I agree with that. And I do discuss holes and tears, because the more suppressed the aura becomes, then we can get to holes and tears in the auric field. And of course, then you can get spiritual attachments. But I agree with you. I think that's pretty similar. Again, we're going back to the similarities with the cultures and everything. I know, right? It's very interesting. I think there's some sort of, if somebody were able, I don't know how many countries there are in this world, like 130, I think. If somebody were to travel to all these countries, they have to start out as a child, right? And start a research paper. I think somewhere along the line, we'd find an origin to all of this. I really do. What was that question about? I didn't see.
Seth had a question.
He's he's asking a candle question. He goes, will candles work without oils? And what is the road opener candle best to use for?
Okay, so, will candles work without oils? Yes, they do. Okay, the flame of the candle has a twofold purpose, and that is to pierce the veil between our world and the spiritual world. And it also provides, it's food for the entities that you're calling upon for help. Okay, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can do that. The oils aren't absolutely necessary, but they complement, they complement the candle. But no, I mean, no, it's not 100% necessary, but I do. Now, what is a road opener candle? So I always tell people to do a blockbuster spell before a road opener spell. So the only way I can possibly describe this is there is a great big brick wall, and you can't get past this brick wall. No matter how, hard you try, you keep running into this brick wall. So a blockbuster candle will bust that wall. It'll just break that wall. So now the wall is broken. And it's the only way I can explain it in terms that people can understand is imagine a whole bunch of roads on the other side of this brick wall, right? And you don't know which road to go down. So the road opener will open the right roads for you. Because there could be roads that'll lead you down the wrong path. So the road opener will lead you through to the right path. And I always tell people, prayers to Saint Peter. If you're Christian, if you don't have to be Christian, but if you want assistance, there's Saint Peter. I always advocate for him because he's a great road opener. Saint for road opener. I had I had two clients, and one of them was homeless and living in her car, and she had nowhere to go, and she can't light candles in her car, but I kept teaching her over and over to say a prayer to Saint Peter. And because she was living in a car and homeless every day, pray it in the morning, pray it at night, pray it in the afternoon, pray it as often and have faith in him. And now she's some hot shot manager at a posh salon, I believe, in another state. Didn't even say thank you, by the way. But anyway.
Of course.
another client who did light candles and say the prayer to Saint Peter. She was living at home with her mother, and she couldn't find a job. She couldn't find a boyfriend. She was miserable. So now with this one, I had her do the blockbuster candle first, right? And then I had her do, the road opener prayers and the candles to Saint Peter. Saint Peter's color is red, but you can also use white. White is a neutral color, which replaces any color. And oh boy, did he help her. She found this great job. She's married and traveling around the world as a sought after photographer.
Fantastic.
Wow. She said thank you, but I never heard from her after that either. Someplace, you get a plane ticket to, I don't know, down the
Becoming a nurse, becoming a healer of any kind, if you get in it for the thanks, then it's, you're going to be waiting a while.
Yeah, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Seth is also asking what color candle is best for ongoing protection?
I would say purple or white. Okay. Some people will use black, but I like the white or the purple.
Cool.
So black is kind of like being protected but hidden. Some people, excuse me, some people will use a black cat candle, a figural candle as a cat, and they use that for protection.
Yeah.
Some people will use a black witch protection candle.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but now those you would have to put oil on because, we don't want to get that mixed up with something else, you got the, the witch there.
Summoning the spirit of a witch or something to be in your house, be like, hold up, not what I was looking for.
Oh man.
Darn it.
Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. You light the black witch candle and all three of us show up at the door.
What's
You
for dinner?
called?
Yeah,
You
did you make
rang?
tea? Yeah. Why am I here? That's funny.
Yep.
Seth also asked about the best protection for a person going through depression, so where they have a low vibrational frequency.
The best protection for someone who has depression, is this correct?
Yeah.
Is someone with a low frequency. So that is like a twofold question. So, my recommendation is that you take a 13-day bath, and you can use either 13 herbs that are used for protection. You can use a bathtub of water with only 1 tablespoon, no more than 1 tablespoon of ammonia. Or you can take a bath with 1 tablespoon of sea salt, and you get in the bathtub and you recite Psalm 37 aloud. And that's a tough one to do because there's 40 verses.
Oh my.
I am not a big advocate. I am not an advocate. In fact, I oppose it. I oppose reciting a couple of lines from a prayer. Okay, if you can't take the effort to pray a prayer in its entirety, then something's wrong here. There's got to be effort and energy and sincerity. Okay, so what is it going to take you? You should stay in the bathtub for 13 minutes, at least 13 minutes, a minimum of 13 minutes. But when you're reciting Psalm 37 out loud, right?
The water's gonna get
with
cold.
40 verses, by the time you're done, it's 13 minutes, right?
You're hypothermic. Yeah. No, just kidding.
And then you get out of the bathtub and you can spray yourself with holy water. You can spray use holy oil, use protection oil. When you go to sleep, you can put Vicks Vapor Rub on you because Vicks Vapor Rub has camphor. And camphor is a great protection agent, I would start also praying to Saint Michael for help and he's a great protector, and try to replenish that aura. And that is in my book, Everything You Need to Know. And I'm going to do a plug for this book right now.
Please do
it. Do
it.
Hoodoo, cleansing, and protection magic. It is all in this book. It'll tell you why you're in the state of discomfort, okay, and how you can fix that. I hope that is. Was that again? I forgot the question. Did I answer the question?
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
It looks like that answered his question. Yeah. I think just how to help. And there's so much of it going on right now with everything that everybody's facing in the world, and the big changes that we're going through and the shifts that are occurring. Is people are really dealing with this imbalance and feeling the literally and figuratively feeling the earth move underneath them in some respects, and losing their footing and their foundation and questioning everything. And it's causing depression and anxiety. And there's, and we know that some people are elevating. And so that shift there's this sort of tower falling explosion that occurs before you kind of get your footing again on the next level. But there's also people that are feeling that change and are not stepping into that power, and so there's a drop that occurs for them, and so it definitely is something that can be very helpful for people who are in that moment of unsure. and maybe battling some depression or anxiety for sure. So it's great. And Seth says, thank you.
Yes, and
so he's like, thank you.
I'm going to answer another question that nobody's asked me.
Oh, good. Perfect. We love
Please
this.
do. You want to say the question out loud? Or?
Yeah.
Can you write in the chat room that I have a question for me? So,
right.
You know what I did for the COVID thing is, you weren't there, so you wouldn't remember. But some people think that I'm so old I remember this. But back in the Bible, in Exodus, right? God was trying to free the Jews from the Egyptians, right? They were slaves. And he did all these 7 things, and you'd have to see the movie. I always get my Jewish friends mad at me because whenever they start talking about the Torah, I go, yeah, I know, I saw the movie.
Yeah, been there.
Hey.
I know all about Judaism. I saw the
We're
movie.
Good. I read the Cliff's Notes. It's cool.
Exactly, yeah.
So anyway, it was interesting because one of the plagues that God sends, he tells the Jewish people to put lamb's blood across the door. And, he was going to send this pestilence out to kill the firstborn sons, and the lamb's blood would protect them. It's in Exodus, if you haven't seen the movie. And so anyway, but if you read back, because I read everything. I hate reading, but I read everything. So, God tells them to get, a goat or a lamb, right? And then he says, you got to eat this, cook the lamb with flat bread, which would be like unleavened bread would be like pita bread, right? And something bitter on it. Well, I'm thinking, I'm half Greek. Okay, bitter. I'll put, squeeze some lemon juice on that because lemon, And then he says, whatever you don't eat, you have to give to somebody else has to eat it. So I went to the store and I bought a lamb's leg and I made sure it was nice and bloody, right? And I did everything, okay? And I squeezed the blood because there was already blood in the package. And then here I am aspirating all of these in these syringes.
Oh, gross.
Hey, nurses, I'm loving it, right? Like,
squeamish.
Wendy's like, I'm out. Yeah. I'm like, oh
yeah. And I put them across the doors, the garage door, the blood, the windows and everything. And I thought, this can't hurt. I mean, that's my thing. If it can't hurt, if you have nothing to lose, do it, right? I'm going to tell you, I had something came across me that was very peaceful. And I knew I wasn't going to be affected by COVID. And I did this in February. Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, if it's good enough for God, it's good enough for me.
Amen to that, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
the
great.
Lamb gave, what I couldn't eat, I gave to my neighbors. Here's some, I put some lemons on it.
Yeah.
Gave them some pita bread. And it's like, okay, I think we covered everything in the Bible.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I hope that answers my question.
Me too. I had a kind of a personal question on the cleansing baths and things. And it doesn't really go into witchcraft maybe so much as nursing. I've been an insulin diabetic since I was 2 years old. And I find that if I go in and take a sea salt bath and do some of the cleansing rituals, my blood sugar will drop like a rock into that bathtub. And just it almost to the point where I need to keep something right beside the tub. What would you think might be the mitigating factors there?
It's
I mean,
for fusion.
salt is hypertonic, and it's drawing out.
Magnesium
So
in
it's
it.
causing some sort of a metabolic imbalance with you.
Right.
You certainly wouldn't do that. But, I've got a whole bunch of different herbs in this book, so you don't have to necessarily take a bath with sea salt. You've got lots of options there, You
Right.
can steep one of the herbs, you don't have to even use 13. You can steep one of the many herbs that I've listed, steep it for 13 minutes and, strain it, put it in the bathtub. And I always tell people, keep the herbs and take them outside and place them on the ground from whence they came. It's an act of respect.
Okay.
But
Nice.
that's what I would do. But boy, I'll tell you, I wouldn't, if it's making you sick, don't do it. I mean, that's, your body is telling you something's wrong. But I mean,
I actually think it balances something that I lack more often than not. And it might be the reduction in stress, be it physical or mental. But then again, who honestly knows?
I just wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't do it if it's causing an imbalance in you.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything. What's normal for one person isn't normal for another person.
Exactly.
And I'll give you an example. You go to a new doctor. Have you ever had night sweats? Yeah, I have. How long have you had them? 60 years.
Yeah.
I'm 64. I've had night sweats for 60 years.
Oh,
I really doubt that I have cancer. Okay.
Right.
So I can't sleep unless I sweat now. I can't do it. Okay. But for me, that's normal. For somebody else, it could be a warning sign. So, I mean, what's normal for one person is not normal for another.
Exactly.
And if the salt bath is doing something to you, physiologically, you can't be doing that.
And so that brings to mind too, a lot of your books talk about different spells and how to enact these spells. And for, people experienced in Hoodoo or Witchcraft or Santeria or some of these other, forms that can come naturally. But what kind of advice would you give maybe to a brand new practitioner to these practices that might pick up your book that hasn't really done much spell crafting or even ceremonial magic or anything before, and they're maybe trying to do one of these spells, maybe not even on behalf of themselves, maybe they're trying to do it on behalf of a friend. An example might be, I've suddenly discovered that, I'm a witch and now I'm pursuing witchcraft and I'm getting deep into the Wiccan religion, and my best friend just came to me and freaked out because she caught her boyfriend cheating on her. And so I'm going to jump to that book and I'm going to fix it for her. What would your advice and your sage advice and feedback be for someone like that is just kind of starting out and, how to practice with discernment and things like that? What would you say?
So, with my book, Wiser Publications, I'm showcasing. So
I love them.
This book, they're nice. They're wonderful. So with this book here, it's designed for the layman. It's designed for the intermediary. It's designed for the experienced practitioner. So I mean, I don't have anything in that book that would that would require a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I've written other books. My other two books are Cursing and Crossing. And I've written a book on that. But I always say you have to be justified. You have to be justified. You have to be. I say it throughout the book. And as far as breaking up a relationship, again, this has to be justified. It has to be justified. I would personally never do a breakup spell unless I did a reading and unless I had all the facts, right? Because, if a spell is not justified, I know Hoodoo practitioners do not believe in karma. And I still say there is a karmic influence there. because you're doing something that's unjustified, and it could come back to bite you in the ass, So,
Very true.
My advice is, if someone comes to you, a lay person and says, "Oh, can you do a breakup spell?" I wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
With all my experience, I can't begin to tell you how many clients I have turned down. I mean, hundreds that I have turned down to do breakup spells, that I have turned down to do cursing and crossing spells, because I got to look out for myself too. You know what I mean? And, I got one just the other day, and this guy is like, "Well, I'm in love with this woman, but, she's married to somebody else and she doesn't even know I exist. So, what can I pay you to break them up so that I can have a chance at her?" And, I wrote back and I was like, "This isn't justified, thank you very much." And I blocked him, and that was it. You can't be doing spells on a whim. You can't do it. Yes, you can do healing spells on a whim, because healing spells can't hurt anybody. You can do protection spells on a whim because they're not going to hurt anybody, right? But when you start getting into things like love spells, even love spells, it's like, who are the parties involved? I am madly, madly in love with Andy Garcia. I mean, I think
Oh, he's a cutie
baby,
patootie. Yeah.
love him. Yeah. So let's just say hypothetically,
Right.
he came to Michigan and I wasn't arrested for attempted rape, but let's just say,
all you have to do is spray a little urine on him and he's yours.
Yeah, there you go.
You got
it's
it.
like the dog, pee it or bury it.
Pee it or throw dirt on it.
If I did let's say he came to Detroit and he's renting a house next door to me, right? I wouldn't do a love spell because, is he married? Who am I hurting?
Right.
Does he have children that adore him? You got to think about these things.
About the impact.
Even with positive magic, you got to think about these things.
Yeah.
When you're sending someone away, let's just say, and I don't even consider these negative spells. I consider them more or less neutral spells. Someone's bothering me. Do I send them away? Where am I sending them to? Does that person have children that, if the person leaves, will they leave the children? You've got to consider the entire picture. You just can't be doing things on a whim. So that new person that wants to do a breakup spell, I say don't do it. I keep giving you like 2-hour answers to every one of your little questions, and I forget the question.
That's okay.
No, it's great. It's it's just kind of figuring out. There's so many people now who are coming into their gifts, and so they're starting to pursue some of these mystic practices, and I've been seeing just a lot of chatter, in social media and some of like the empath groups and things where people are like, "Oh, this spell or that spell," and they haven't been practicing very long. So the ethics, kind of the ethics of practice, need to be considered. Yeah.
If you abuse it, you're going to lose it. And
right.
It bothers me very much when I, see these pseudo practitioners, if you will, and I'm gonna throw shade on this that's a new younger.
Right, the new
shade.
Yeah.
Like, what? It's like, if you're throwing shade or cursing everybody, you're not a witch. And first of all, you're not going to tell anybody that you're going to do that, but for somebody who is legitimately and honestly getting into any of these crafts, do spells on yourself, to improve yourself and give yourself wisdom. But if you're going into this craft, any of the magical crafts, for power and recognition and superiority, I have no respect for you. You can all go jump in a lake.
Big old no.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about, pseudo practitioners. In one of your books, you talk about, the phony ghost hunters. And so I'm curious to have you share some of your insight and thoughts on that, because I know myself and some of the others watching are very involved in ghost hunting, and we have our opinions on figuring out who those people are. So I'm curious, kind of what
charlatans.
Yes, your feedback is on some of those to share with the public.
I have a couple paranormal investigators on my website, and they're phenomenal. And I don't know if can I say, well, I mean, they're not going to sue me for telling people how wonderful.
They're great.
No, not. I wouldn't think.
Pretty sure that's a no.
One of them is Brian Bowden, and the other one is Alfred Santeria. And you should hear these guys. I mean, they're just really into what they're doing, and they're really into helping people, and they do it for free, and can you imagine all the money these people have invested in equipment and all that, and they care about helping the person, right? You'll find other pseudo paranormal investigators that they're just out for their own notoriety and financial enhancement, if you will. I have a list here because I had interviewed a paranormal investigator, and I have it in here what to look for. And if they're doing this or that or that or this, they're not the real deal, right? So I mean, I'm not going to go through the entire list.
Buy the book. Hey, that's the teaser.
Buy
the book.
Buy the book. I just dropped the link in.
Yeah. The most important thing, and this is, if you do have paranormal activity in the house, does the team have a resource to get rid of it? So it's not going to be like on television where these guys come in with all their equipment and, oh yeah, they've got this and that. Okay, have a good day, bye. It's like, wait a minute, I'm still stuck with this, okay? So, do they have the resources? If they don't, then you need to invest, you need to interview other teams. They should have access to exorcists. They should have access to, people that can remedy the problem. Identifying, it's like going to the doctor. And a lot of them do this. It's like going to the doctor. Oh yeah, your bone is broken in half. Okay, yeah, I can see it sticking out of your skin. Have a good day. Bye.
That'll be $500. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Or what's wrong? What's wrong today? And I'm like, I'm paying you to tell me, not the other way around.
Exactly.
That's why I don't go to doctors. It's a crap, man. I'm telling you, every time I go in, I get a diagnosis. I was healthy until I talked to a doctor. Forget it.
I went to this pseudo person who everybody just thought he was the shit. Do they say that now? I mean, I'm always behind the modern.
I know what it means, and most of our listeners,
I think we're all the 40s and above. We're good.
He's Santero and he knows everything and blah blah blah. I'm still getting an invitation on my screen to come join this event. Can you tell Wendy that I'll be there?
Okay.
That you're coming to the Zoom meeting and needs to quit inviting you. Okay, good.
Weird. Okay.
Up,
I'm here. God.
Technology, gotta love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's reading the deal going, the little shells, he's reading, he was at this festival and he's got his book, right? And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, I just gave $40, and, it's like, and I have really, really bad cataracts, right? And he throws the shells down and he pulls, you don't read a book. You should be knowing all this stuff by heart, right? And Elegua, who's one of the Orishas, Elegua wants to know what's wrong with your eyes. I paid you $40 so that you could tell me that El Legua, okay, if you were really reading, El Legua would be telling me what's wrong with my eyes and what I can do. Not El Legua wants to know what's wrong with your eyes. Okay, bye. $40 down the drain. I get up and left. I said, thank you, bye. No refund on that $40.
Back in the 80s, another Cuban individual, Dr. Sabatez, saved my eyesight from the diabetic retinopathy.
Wow.
Yeah, and now I'm a little bit the glare. I've had the cataracts and they were removed and everything, but a little bit farsighted and okay. I absolutely have to have readers to read anything these days. So, but talk to a Sabatez. Come down to Kansas City. We'll get you in one of the clinics.
Wow. You know what? You'll have to email me. I'd like
that. I think Dr. Felix Sabatez is now retired, but his son is just as good as he is, and it's.
We need to talk about that.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. Next question. I'm ready.
Is there a witchcraft for dummies?
That was Wendy's cat.
Yeah,
my buddy Wendy.
That was another
Wendy
Wendy in the chat room.
Yeah, she wants a Witchcraft for Dummies book. Did you write one of those?
I wonder, is there?
I don't know.
I have a bunch of books I recommend for people that come in, and Wendy, I'll hook you up, girl. They're all in my library. She's my bestie. So there's one called Wicca Demystified. Robert. Okay. I don't know if it was Robert Langdon that wrote it or not, but Wicca Demystified was one that I like to give to people that are kind of from the outside looking in, not necessarily that they're pursuing witchcraft or Wicca as a religion necessarily, but to explain it to those in layman's terms that don't quite get what it is we're doing with this whole Wicca thing. What is the religion? What is the belief system? How did it come about? Some of the history, why we do the weird thing in the field at night under a full moon thing that's really bizarre, and the neighbors talk, but that kind of whole what's going on?
Invite them over. Invite them over.
Right?
Include them.
Include them. Come on over and see what we do. Yeah. So, what's the deal with the candles? Yeah. So that it's kind of, it explains a little bit of that. So that's what I frequently give to people, that it's not like they're saying, oh my God, I think I'm a witch and I really want to pursue Wicca as a religion as part of my witchcraft practice. It's not that so much as here's how to explain, like when somebody says, what is Wicca? I don't understand it. And so it's been a really good book. It's written really well. It does a really good job. I think and every religion struggles from this. A lot of what I find is some books have a bent, there's really it's almost an opinion piece. And so you have to kind of be careful to try to be somewhat neutral when introducing a topic to someone for the first time. And this book, I think, does a really good job. For those that are pursuing witchcraft as a practice, the Cunningham books are great. He has this whole series about solitary witchcraft. And 99.9% of us start as a solitary before ever joining a coven, should they choose to or not. But most of us start out, in that first few steps of, oh gosh, this is me now. And so how do I now take the next step? And he's got really good, step-by-step on setting up an altar. What is the masculine? What is the feminine? What are the seasons? What are the elements? What does that all mean? How do we tie it together? How do they relate? And how do we honor those things? How do we put them into practice? From altar space, your athame goes here, your incense go here, it kind of keeps it real simple. Here's how to build your altar, right? But he's really good at being don't go out and spend thousands of dollars.
Right.
Find a stone that has meaning to you, or a shell, or a piece of tree bark for earth. It doesn't matter. Find the thing that represents it for you. That's all you need. It's a representation. Intent is what the basis of everything is, your intent. So, he does a really good job of breaking down the basics. And then he's got a few more books after that kind of go deeper and deeper as you sort of evolve.
What's the name of it?
It's Oh my gosh, see, I knew you could have,
Oh,
hold
yes.
on. I'm gonna have to Google. This is terrible. I haven't read it in
That's
so long.
fine. No.
Um,
What would we do without Google?
In the meantime, buy this book.
Right, buy your
put it up
book.
there and hold it still a minute. Brenda wanted to see it.
Yeah, hold your cover up while I Google.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go. So,
okay.
oh, sorry. It's Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner.
And that's by Cunningham.
That's by Cunningham, and that's the first one. And then he's got a series after that. But that's a really good one for a lot of people that are just starting out in their practice, because it just, again, it doesn't get super deep into stuff, you know, and it really kind of helps just explain how to do the basics and how to just start your practice, how to cast a circle, how to take one down, how to honor the god and the goddess, what are the sabbats, what are the esbats, you know, that whole just basic stuff. It's really kind of a good book. So, and there's plenty more. I mean, then there's those of us like me. I mean, I actually enjoy reading. I'm like, you know, it's funny. You wrote all these books, but you don't like to read. I think it's funny. I have, you know, bookshelves full of things like the Golden Bough, and you know, you start diving deeper and deeper into the mythology and the ethos of it all. And yeah, for people that don't
like the history of it too.
Yeah, people that don't like to read don't get the Golden Bough. You're gonna be like, what is that? Yeah, but so I dove way off to the deep end in a lot of my reading. So you'd have to reel me back in a little bit, but I think Cunningham does a really good job writing and explaining. And then from there, you can branch off if you want to look at the European history or the Celtic history, or which kind of, you know, which history path you're interested in and the practices that you have. I mean, I have friends that are really back to basics with their practice and do fundamental, you know, try to do grassroots Wicca or witchcraft practices. And then those that are really like full, like Italian witchcraft, where we've got rituals that are just beautiful and elaborate. So, you know, everybody to each their own. So it kind of, you can branch off from there.
Is Italian the strega?
Strega.
Cool.
And it's beautiful. There's a group here locally that does, well, with COVID, who knows now, but they do a thing called concentric circles. And it's an open public event where you can go and multiple covens host a public circle, and you can essentially circle hop. It's like speed dating for pagans, kind of.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, and it was great for me when I was a baby witch, because I could see all these different, like there was a Dianic tradition and there was a Strega group. There was, you know, so it's all these groups, and I could just sort of like bounce and see all these different ritual practices.
Wow.
It was so cool. And it gave me an exposure. You know, they didn't go deep into it because it's a public event, you know, but their coven would sort of host this thing. What's that?
Where do you live?
I'm based out of
Seattle, Washington.
Oh boy, that was
Washington. Sorry, Washington State.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I filled it in.
Yeah. So so that was a cool thing too. So that's always neat if you can see other traditions. If you're marching down the path a little bit more, wondering if you lean one way or the other.
I ran across your Florida water and was kind of curious about how that was used and how it was made, actually. And do I have to buy it online and ship it up to Kansas City?
So it's not my Florida water, but
well, it was in the book of yours that I was reading. So
there are recipes online. There are recipes to make it.
Okay.
But I don't know the authenticity, you know, because everybody has their own version of how to make it. So I've never tried to make it. I don't want to, you know, ever since I was a little girl, you know, my family, agua florida, you know, Florida water in Spanish, agua florida for everything, agua florida, you know, Florida water for cleansing, for purification, for protection, right? And it's always agua florida. You know, back then, you know, spray bottles were a lot more expensive than they are now. You can get them at Dollar Tree, right? I mean, even at Walmart, they're less than $1. But back then, you know, they get the bottle and just splash it everywhere and all over you and all that. But it's used for everything. And it also, and I didn't include this in the book because, you know, I didn't want to get that mixed up with spell casting, but you know, there were times that you can actually enhance your words by throwing some, putting some Florida water in your hand and throwing it down, and then, you know, it does something. It makes your verbal commands or petitions more powerful.
Okay.
I remember, and I still don't want to get in trouble, but I was so mad at somebody at work who was very, very, very powerful. And I was just infuriated. Man, I shouldn't say this, but he broke into her office.
Now there's no chance she'll be watching.
Is this another urine story? Because I don't know.
Maybe I can do one of those facial fuzzy things on you for
Right. Give her a little bit of privacy for this conversation.
Right, yeah.
A little black bar. Yeah.
And
Yep.
I found she had files on everybody. I mean, she was like a horrible person, horrible. She didn't have anything on me that was interesting, but she had them on all these people that I'd known for years. Like, they were to blackmail them, especially the doctors. It was a black.
Oh my gosh.
I've known people like that.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
I was so infuriated. You know, I always, I have it in my book. I always carry Florida water in my purse. Yes, I do. Okay, I carry
Okie
Florida
dokie.
water in my purse, and I carry holy water in my purse. And I was so mad. I was like, I got to do something. I got to do something. And I grabbed my, you know, I went back up my purse and, you know, my Florida water, and I said, you bitch, you will be fired. You will be fired. You will be fired. You know, if it's, and she was a permanent fixture. And sure enough, she was fired. I mean, not immediately, but so, you know, Florida water has a lot of purposes. And, you know, I was saying on my own live events that I had done on, for Wiser, it's like, it's also a disinfectant. It's like, yeah. So, you
Yeah,
know,
I just had this image of you having it in a little spray bottle in your purse, and you're walking into Walmart like spraying people down, like back up.
you will ask, I'm blessing you, I'm protecting you,
I'm-
and
I'm cleaning you right here.
you.
That's right.
So back in the olden days, well, a lot, I shouldn't say back in the olden days because they still do this. Florida water is even used in blessing rites. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
nice.
purpose. But I don't trust any other brand except the Lamb and Kemp. That's the only brand I trust because it was what I grew up with.
I'm sorry, which brand again?
Lamb and Kemp.
Okay.
It
And
used to be it
Miss
used to be
Wendy
Lamb
Shoup,
and-
you
it used
can.
to be like Lamb and Murphy Kemp or something like that, but they got rid of Murphy. I don't know what happened to him. I think
Okay.
They use Florida water on him, it sounds like.
Kick
He's
the Irish
banished.
out, whatever.
Yeah, he's banished.
So water is, I mean, Florida water is a very useful thing. The only thing that I have to warn people is don't spray it around wood furniture or anything that can be harmed by alcohol because Florida water has an alcohol base.
Okay.
Yeah. So I use it for everything. My family used it for everything, you know. And, you know, I didn't put this in the book either, but I wouldn't use this as a ritual thing. But if you're taking a nice bath, just taking a bath, you know, I put some Florida water in the bathtub also. Like if I'm going to do a bubble bath with something, I just add a little Florida water in there too, just to give me a little bit of purification.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't used Florida water, but I make my own moon water and use it in a similar fashion. But yeah,
You
I
know,
hadn't thought
tonight
about that.
is a full moon in Pisces, and you know,
Everything's cleansed and out and ready.
Yeah, put your water out. Put, you know.
Yep.
I like to use the purified water, but that's just me because I'm, you know, retentive. And you put your water out and get the energies from the moon. And you know, I'm not a Wiccan, but I did read on this today, and it's a lot of emotional stuff going on with the moon in Pisces. So,
Yeah.
you know, empowerment waters, you can use that water for, you know, to drink or to splash yourself with or to bathe in. But I do that. I do put out water. I pour it in a bowl, like you say. I get a bottle of Aquafina, and I pour it in a clean bowl and put it out for the full moon. And then I collect it right before I go to sleep. I collect it, put it back in the bottle. Come here, baby. I'm sorry. It's one of my dogs. Come here, Ash. Come here.
I'm surprised Augie hasn't made an appearance.
No,
yes.
Come here. You are thinking, look at this.
There he is.
Asha, come here. She's the one making all the noise. Asha, come here. They want to see you. Come here, baby.
Yeah, we're dog people here, so it's good.
Come here. Come here. Up. Come on. Okay. Not you, Junior. Oh.
Oh, there she is. How pretty.
Now she is his mother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice.
They're German shepherds. A German shepherd is a German shepherd.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're cute. Love them.
Wolfie can't get up. Wolfie's got problems. He can't get up. He's laid down. So. Okay. Oh, now you want to stay in the video camera, huh?
Well, that's all right too. Little cameo appearance.
And the other thing too is if you have a very, very loving dog, that really, really loves you, when they're shedding their hair,
Yeah.
There's
Augie.
Oh, let's see.
Come here, Augie. Now he's standing, so yeah, he's just that tall. He's like 33 inches at the shoulder.
Oh, wow.
And he was a puppy that we rescued, and he just about died. Had to spend a lot of time with the old vet, but
yeah.
Come here,
Oh, baby.
Come on, Hug. Come on, Hug. Come on.
Oh, there he is. Another shepherd.
He's being shy.
Aw. Mine are locked out of the room. Otherwise, they'd be right here the whole time. So they're locked out. Uh-oh.
I don't have any snacks.
Go. The mom look.
Go. Okay, good boy.
So like, because I have German Shepherd dogs, and they're they protect me, when they shed hair, I'll take some of that hair and I'll put it in a little bag and, a cloth bag, and I carry it. It's another form of protection.
Ooh, okay.
And the other thing I do too, and this is kind of gross, but I am a hoodoo practitioner, so I'm going to work with what I have, right? When I cut their nails, I put that in my mojo bag too for protection.
Sure, absolutely.
I put herbs in there that protect. I put amulets. So what's a mojo bag? It's a magical bag it's a bag that has magical ingredients in it.
Right,
right. Dog hair, that's magical. Dog nails, that's magical. Your herbs are magical. You can put amulets or crystals in there that represent protection. And you can use a purple cloth bag or a black cloth bag. I don't like white because they stand out like a sore thumb, but you can use the muslin bags also. They're a lot cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
So, anything that represents protection, you can put in a bag and carry it.
Yeah.
My friend Jerry Wolf and I were going to maybe come online tomorrow and make protection jars and kind of go through that for everybody, and that can definitely go in, the little dog hair too, and just all kinds of fun stuff.
Nails, if you're cutting their nails.
Oh yeah, he'll let me. But Tobe, I see you, Tobe. Let's see. Got about 20 minutes left. Well, you want to talk about auras some, or
I think we already covered that one.
we did a little bit, yeah, didn't we? How about you'd said that you? Oh no, you were making the moon water. Just
We
didn't
can
tell
talk about.
Sorry, I'm going through my notes.
Do you want to talk about objects?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What the possessed, haunted, or cursed?
Yeah, I mean, you could have energy transfers. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I view them as three different things. Okay, so you can have an object that has absorbed someone's energy or something's energy. So let's say something is your lucky coin or your lucky shirt or your lucky whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, that object had absorbed some sort of positive energy. And when it's near you or on you or with you, it's going to emit positive energy. And the same thing happens with negative things, unlucky, whatever, unlucky this or unlucky that. So energy transfers can occur in, I'll give you an example. If I'm a horrible, horrible person and I'm just the most god awful person, and then I decide to sell my ring because I'm short on cash, so I sell it to a pawn shop. I mean, it's not. I'm just showing you a ring. It's not.
Oh, okay, all right.
Nice ring.
Nothing to get excited about. Okay, so I'm just a horrible person, and so I'm short on cash, and I sell my ring, and I sell it to a pawn shop, and then somebody comes in and says, "Wow, that's a nice ring." It really isn't. It's just a ring. So anyway, so the person buys it at the pawn shop, and they put it on, and they're starting to feel everything's irritating them, and they start becoming mean, maybe not as horrible as I am, but let's just say that I've had a lot of horrible experiences along with my horrible personality, right? So that energy is transferred into an object, and that's not the same as a possessed object or a cursed object, but it retains energies. I have a necklace that was given to me by a dear friend, and she had a very, very, very high accuracy rate of predictions. And what had happened to her was she never believed in psychic stuff. She was a Protestant, by the way. Now I'm always going to think of you when I think of Protestant, Sonia. So, it was like bah humbug and all this other stuff.
Yeah, right.
You're all going to Satan and this and that.
Right.
And
hellfire and brimstone.
Party.
She got a stroke.
Party in the big house. Yeah.
Oh, in the sweat lodge, maybe.
The sweat lodge. Yeah. That's it.
So she had a stroke, and she became as psychic as hell. And she started doing your little readings for a couple of dollars, $2 or $3, and she would give you people's names. And I mean, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. Never. I mean, I would actually shake because she told me the first and last name of my future husband, where he lived, right? And I thought, this is impossible. And she was right. She told me about another man. There was this doctor when I was in nursing school. Oh my God, he was like so drop dead and die handsome. And every day he'd walk by because everybody knew I had a crush on him, right? And every day he'd walk by and do one of these, like, good afternoon. And all of us women were like, oh, because I was like, blah, And I went to her and she said, you're going to know somebody by the name of Mark, and you're very romantically attached to him. And she said, it's not going to be that way. You're going to be best friends. And I thought, who the hell is this? You know, blah, blah, blah. So one day that doctor walks by again, right? And they're going, oh my God, he's coming to the table. He's coming to the table. And he comes up to me and goes, it's about time I said hello to you. Hello, my name is Mark. And I just shift my hands, right?
Like, damn it, nice shot. It's gone.
Okay, no, when he ended up being my best friend, it turned out he was scary. Yeah.
Oh.
But he was my best friend. And so anyway, I'm getting to a point with this. So we became very, very good, not Mark, but the fortune teller, okay? She would tell you all these things, and she had a necklace, and she gave it to me, you know, when she was doing her readings, and she gave it to me, and I do become a little bit more psychic when I wear it. So I mean, there's a transfer of energy, right?
Yeah.
So then you have objects that are possessed. So we'll go back to Santeria and Palo, okay? So you're going to see these cauldrons, or not these cauldrons, what are they called? I don't know how to say, tureens, that's how you say it in English.
Okay.
You see these tureens that are different colors, and you know, what's in them is all the stuff that I can't tell you, but there's these little stones, right? And the stones have an essence of that Orisha or saint. And that's how an object, and this is a positive thing, but it can happen in a negative way also, right? So that's how an object becomes possessed. It's not the entire entity has entered something. It's just like if you got a hold of my hair right now and you did some magic on it, you have an essence of me, okay? My hair has DNA. If you got my skin cells, it has DNA. So you've got essence, you know, and entities have essence. So, so I mean, that's how you can get into a possessed object, okay? With possessed objects, sometimes they lie dormant for a long time, okay? And then little by little by little, things start happening. With cursed objects, you're the practitioner, or bewitched, I shouldn't say cursed, in bewitched objects. The practitioner is inserting, if you will, certain energies in an object. So if I wanted Andy Garcia to be in love with me, because I'll keep using Andy Garcia until maybe one day he will see a live event and call me. So anyway,
keep putting it out in the ether. You never know, right?
That's right. That's right.
It can work.
I love you. God, come to me. So anyway, and that's how we lay tricks also. You know, in Hoodoo they call it laying tricks. So, you know, you're putting some sort of energy into an object. It doesn't have to be a stone. It can be anything, right? And now those bewitched objects, they work immediately once you have an encounter with them. So that's how they differ from a possessed object.
Okay.
And, you know, and an object that has either positive or negative energy, it's been my experience that, yeah, you'll start feeling it within a day, right? But you can bring things home that could be a coffee pot that you bought at an auction or at a garage sale. It could be anything. It could, you know, and you bring it in and it could have some bad vibes or some good vibes. But if you got bad vibes, get it out of your house. Don't talk to it. Don't interact with it. Don't ever mention plans. Don't, you know, you don't call your friend and say, you know, I bought this object at the garage sale and all these bad things are happening to me. I'm going to get rid of it. Don't let it know your plans. Okay. You make a surprise attack and then take it outside, get rid of it. And, you know, I've got different ways of, you know.
So then what
Is
are
there
your
a way to
thoughts?
cleanse it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, that was what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Because habit, that's the word I'm looking for. I was going to say hobbit. That's totally different conversation. A habit I have is whenever I bring something in that has prior use, I cleanse it and set my intent on it. So, you know, I you know, wipe the slate clean through the ritual practices that I have, and then essentially bewitch it in a way and start and infuse my energy into it, my intent for its use. This is your purpose in my life. This is what I'm going to have you do for me. This is what you're serving. If it's the coffee pot, it's you're going to wake me up in the morning. I don't know. You have a job to do. That is a big job if you're a coffee pot in my house. But yeah, it's, you know, so there's a process of cleansing it. But, you know, if you could talk a little bit then about that with regard to those that are that have an essence versus a bewitching or just picking up residual energy, sort of, you know, are there some objects that have, you know, that have an essence in them that, you know, no matter what kind of cleansing you do, it holds a piece of that. And I mean,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, in that case, it has to either go into a river or be buried at a cemetery. You know?
Okay.
There's a book that I really enjoyed. It's called Haunted by the Things You Love. This Lorraine Warren, she was a demonologist, and her nephew is Johnny Zaffis, and he's a demonologist, and he's an expert on possessed objects. In fact, he had a television show called The Haunted Collector, I believe.
Yeah.
So I met him. What a great guy. Wow.
Oh, he's super nice.
Yeah.
He was on a show one time.
He what?
He was on a show one time.
Oh, why didn't you call me?
I didn't know you then. It's been a while. Sorry. Next time.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Boy, he was just phenomenal teacher. So anyway, you know, he has a museum where he keeps possessed objects, you know. So, you know, he told me, you know, when we discussed this in person, he says, just throw in the river or bury it in a cemetery if it's small. But, you know, I'm also a believer of, you know, if you can, return it from whence it came. That's the best means.
Okay.
You know, other people,
put it back.
Very, very large.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might
quickly.
Want to burn it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it, June, I think, is listening in. Her and Ross have an affinity for haunted dolls. And they could probably go on and on and on about dolls and their weirdness and the things they do. Oh yeah. Boy, that's a whole nother topic for another show, I'll tell you. But yeah, it's great stuff.
She's moving, so she's packing and doing all kinds of stuff, or she would have been here tonight.
Yeah, she's busy, but yeah, she's got quite the stories for some of their haunted dolls. But so then, what are your thoughts then? Another controversial topic people bring up a lot is Ouija boards and the use of Ouija boards.
So it's not the Ouija board; it's summoning the unknown, and that's the bottom line, you know. And I get clients that when they, aside from the Ouija board, I get clients that when they want to manifest a spell, they'll say, I'll call on anybody who will help me. No, you don't do that, okay? Because, you know, then you're attracting unknowns. And the Ouija board, you're attracting unknowns. So it's not the Ouija boards. I hear all this crap about, oh, don't bring the Ouija board in the house because they're going to automatically come with it. No, I don't think so. I mean, because what happened at the factory, right? So it's, you know, when you start calling, you know, you don't
exactly
call on unknowns. Yeah, so that's
You drive away and have a bad accident after you've used a Ouija board. No, it wasn't the board. It was all of that alcohol you had while you were there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's it's interesting because you hear people on both sides. The people that are adamant, like, you don't bring it in the house. You gotta be, you can't burn them. Like people talking about burning them, hearing them screaming, like just some weird. You hear some crazy stories.
Really? Maybe we need to up your meds.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if you're sensitive and you can feel energies, it's apparent when you walk by a dormant Ouija board, there's nothing in it. It's a board. I mean, people build them out of all types of different things, of wood and fabric, and I mean there's all kinds of different versions of them. And so it in and of itself, it lays dormant. It's it's like turning the TV channel on. It's when you turn it on that something begins to happen. But then it's it's more of a, I don't know, it's a 411 for anything. There's not, and that's always kind of been my advice as well, is it's like I the Ouija board itself is neutral, but I don't use them. I mean, I don't need to use them, but I don't really advise it for people that aren't really aware of what they're getting themselves into, because it is it's an unfiltered door. And that's where the risk is. It's not the board. The risk is the fact that you just open the door and you're like, anybody can come in. That's
right.
And obviously, it's going to be those who wish to take advantage that are going to step through first. I mean, that's just normal. They're going to be like waiting for that door to open, versus grandma who you really want to talk to. You're going to get someone saying they're grandma, and then it's going to not turn out well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
My grandma's, either one of them would have kicked out anything bad. And come on through.
I would never,
grandmas, I love it.
My great grandma, I would never summon her, because I mean, that, I don't know if you've seen those commercials where the yaya, let's ask yaya, and she goes, oh, you're a prostituta, you're a prostituta. My grandmother accused me, this is the truth, accused me of being a prostitute because I picked up a fried chicken leg with my bare hand. I am not summoning her.
Oh, well, hell.
Oh, that's perfect.
True story.
Oh, God.
I believe it.
It's true. Your family made you walk it off if you died, and my family, you're a prostitute. Prostitute.
Picking up a chicken leg. Oh my Lord. Imagine what she would have said if she saw pineapple on pizza. Oh man.
No, not a pineapple.
Story.
Oh Lordy. Grandmas, I love them.
Oh,
Seth, you're out there listening. Has her grandma pitched in anything?
Yeah.
Seth Michael is a psychic medium, an empath.
Oh no, I don't want to talk to my grandma.
Don't talk to grandma. He doesn't want to talk to grandma. Leave grandma out of it.
Yeah.
She's over there going, I still think you're a prostitute. Yeah. Oh man, I love it.
Brenda says she is that granny. Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's too funny.
Well, now on the hoodoo cleansing and everything, it's a great book for say the more of a beginner type. Yes, there you go. And I did drop the link earlier. And
Thank you.
Sure. And it's written so that anybody can follow along. Some of our grannies are chatting. Oh no.
Yeah. Seth thinks the grandmas are up there having a conversation right now.
Yeah.
I think we're all in trouble.
My
we're all in trouble.
Okay.
Sorry, grandma. We're all in trouble. Yeah. My Slavic Protestant grandmother is up there going.
Well, mine were both Catholic.
Stay away.
Oh Lordy.
Oh, anyway, meanwhile. goodness. It's a good book for even like the beginners because you spell everything out, and it's not so in depth that you kind of lose the track of things, but enough so that a novice can come in and read it and do some of the work, and it will work for them. I really appreciated that. That was very nice. Well written, well done.
Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, for somebody that doesn't like to read, you seem to write pretty well.
Yes.
No, I love to write. I could write forever, but don't make me read what I wrote.
Yeah.
And
That's where a good
problem with the
proofreader comes in.
publisher. They actually
Yeah.
made me read it afterwards.
No,
Oh,
or somebody else do that.
so,
Definitely.
well, I had such a lovely time. You gals are the
It's
best.
wonderful to meet you. It's always nice to
Yes.
meet a, nursing soul sister.
Absolutely. And military.
Yes,
sister.
and military. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I gotta friend you after, we're done.
Heck yeah, that's right.
I was raised, well, the one grandma, she became a nurse in World War II. So,
Wow.
yeah, there's a little connection.
Wow.
For
Mhm.
sure.
Wow.
That's a heck of a time to be a nurse.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
That took big ones.
Okay. Seth is asking, can magic work with just intent alone?
Yes.
Like without herbs and that type of
Yes.
thing?
Yes. And whenever you say something, like say a verbal command, and if you say it long enough, sound is energy. And I always try to tell people, I'm Catholic, and I gotta laugh when I go to, I don't go to church anymore. I've had it with those people. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
It says, let us all pray for so-and-so's health. What the hell is
Silence.
it? Okay.
I'll send it out there, but I'm
Sound
not
is
going to go to church and do
energy.
it.
Sound is energy. Okay. Nobody's going to hear you when you're praying to yourself. Okay.
Right.
Nobody. Okay. Sound is energy. So if you say something over and over, like,
a mantra, repeating it over and over.
not like a mantra. Let's just say, I hate Jane Doe. I hate her so much, and Jane Doe, you're going to fall down and break your leg. Jane Doe will break her leg. Jane Doe will break. She'll eventually do it because I put it out in the universe. Okay. Now I want to add one thing. Never say I wish, I want, or I desire, because that will manifest and you'll get nothing except you'll end up wishing, wanting, or desire. Okay. So you put out your verbal commands as this will happen. If you're asking an entity such as a saint or whomever, please make this happen. Just never say, I wish, I want, I need, I desire, because that will manifest and you'll need and wish and want for the rest of your life.
Wish in one hand and piss in the other. We're back to urine again. Wish in one hand and piss in the other. Is that it? Yeah.
So yes, spells can manifest that way. Absolutely. I mean, look at the evil eye. The evil eye. All you have to do is look at somebody, look at them right in the eye and have your intentions there. Oh yeah.
Intent is the foundation. I mean, and that goes back. It doesn't, the tools and the pomp and circumstance and the ritual and the process that we do and the incantations, those are just there to solidify and reinforce and amplify, but it starts and ends with intent,
right?
So yeah, I mean, you can strip it all the way down and it's still effective.
Seth says this has been an awesome show. I agree, Seth.
Thank you. Oh, I'll see the chat room after you said. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
It's on the on the Facebook page. So I keep looking down because I've got the Facebook page up here showing the live feed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, okay. So that's what time it is.
Oh.
That's why he was saying that. I don't care. We can go on for as long as you want, but
it's midnight here.
Yeah, it's 11 here, so
Getting late for you.
Time, please call me back again.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
You said you're writing another book, aren't you? Don't you have another one coming up?
I have a manuscript submitted, so we'll see what happens. Yes.
Perfect.
Woohoo.
Another book.
And
I love it.
with
It
Weezer
really don't
Red
make me
Wheel.
read it, which they make me read it. So
You have to proofread your work. Bummer.
Right. Hey, I'm always available for that. I read a lot of ARCs. I was going to talk to some of those girls that I email with a lot. Hey, can I have a job?
yeah, there you go. You know what? If I were an editor, if they told me tomorrow that I had to be an editor, I'd shoot myself. I don't know how they do it. I
don't either, honestly.
My
To do it
God.
professionally, I don't remember a lot of the stuff anymore, and that's just
Yeah. Wow, it's just, Judica Ellis, she's my editor, and it's every time I talk to her, I hate your job. She loves her job. It's like, God, what's wrong with her? Loves her job. Hate your job.
I asked that about accountants. I don't understand.
Oh, yes.
I have a friend who's an accountant, and she just gets so excited about numbers and spreadsheets, and I glaze over. I'm like, I look at them as a necessary evil. Yeah, I look at them as a necessary evil for my job, but there's no way in hell I want it to be a part of my job every day. No, thank you. Terrible.
Oh, so when is that book supposed to come out, Aida?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
It was just submitted. They might turn it down.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if they gave you a deadline or anything. So.
Pardon me?
I didn't know if they had given you a hope for date or anything.
No. They're looking at it right now.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Well,
excuse me one second.
Oh, absolutely. Next week, yeah, it's going to be a surprise because I don't know yet.
Perfect. Who knows?
Yes.
Who knows who's on next week?
On October the 7th, Nick Redfern will be returning, and we'll be going over his upcoming book, The Martians. So that'll be fun. Yes.
So you do this every Wednesday?
Well, almost every Wednesday.
I gotta start doing these because these are fun.
Oh yeah, we'll get you on all the time too.
All right. These are fun.
And hopefully Sonia will keep joining me when I'm going.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome.
I'm having a great time.
With hey, we should have a new name for us. So like nurse sister, military nurse sister. We got time.
We got to come up with some sort of.
You have to have but it's got to include nurse and military.
We have to have some sort of title.
Yeah.
The military would never have me. I wanted to be an Air Force pilot.
That would have been cool.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Back in the 80s. The diabetes thing, they didn't. Yeah, exactly.
Bummer. Now you get to hang out with us instead.
Exactly. Having a fun old time.
But I worked in the planes, so she couldn't have been working with me.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
All righty. Well, I guess we will sign off for tonight if you ladies are ready. If not, we can keep going, but I'm about out of questions for this one.
I'm getting sleep. My all three of them are passed out.
All the dogs are dead.
Chick, come here. Say goodnight to me. Chick.
Yeah, these guys left the room, thank God, because
they already gave up.
We had gas.
Oh,
yeah.
Say goodnight.
Gotta love it.
Come here. Say goodnight, Cheeky Choo Choo. Come on.
Aww. Good night.
He says, I just woke up.
Oh.
We look alike.
Oh, he's cute.
They're so good when I'm performing magic. They're just so. And then the girl, The one that the earlier, she always comes in with my readings. You know,
Oh,
Love it.
this guy doesn't do much except love me. That's all he does.
That's an important job, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They can't see you. Can you come up here? You can't make it up here.
Oh,
That's my big boy.
that's cute.
Okay, guys, I'm going to end the live transmission. Everybody
Sure.
have a great Labor Day weekend. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, no, I didn't want to end that part. I just want to end the, stop.